I want to take a little time to talk about one of my passengers who decided to tip me with something that wasn't a legal tender. I do have a whole segment I've done on tipping, the do's and don'ts for passengers, how we drivers look at it. You'll have a link to it at the end of this video. Oh wait, YouTube's already got the link up. No, that was me, that wasn't YouTube. Sorry, feeble attempt at humor. And don't worry if you're not laughing, I'm used to it. My wife usually rolls her eyes at my jokes anyway, so I can take it. But no, back to my passenger. The reason why I'm sharing this story is I got to thinking about some of my passengers who have done something that for me is even better than tipping. They've basically shared kindness and friendship. We'll start with this passenger. She was a middle-aged African-American woman. I could tell by where the drop-off was that she, the apartment complex she lived in showed that she, was not somebody who was of great means. And, I don't judge on that. There are great people of all incomes and social classes. I drive people from all walks of life, and there are good people everywhere. So, I had no reason to think, anything other than this would just be a really good passenger, which she turned out to be. We were on our way to the apartment complex to drop her off. She asked me if I could stop at a gas station. I said, sure, no problem. So pull into the gas station. She goes in to get a few things. And let me say, a lot of passengers, when I stop at gas stations and they go in, they ask me if I want anything. They ask if I'd, like a Coke, a coffee, bottle of water, whatever. And almost across the board, I decline. And that's going to come into our next story as well. So she didn't ask me when she went in. Not a big deal. I don't expect people to ask me that. So she comes out of the gas station and she's got a bag full of items and she says, oh, here, I got something for you. And she takes out a bottle of chocolate milk and hands it to me. And it just put a smile on my face. I did not expect it. It was just such a nice gesture. And I'm happy I wasn't lactose intolerant because I really enjoyed that bottle of chocolate milk. It was kind of a hot day. I enjoyed it. I thanked her profusely. Those sorts of gestures happen sometimes, but not frequently, at least to me. Some of the other drivers in town have talked about passengers tipping them with all kinds of things. And I hope to share some of those stories in the future. So let's move on to another ride where what I received was better than any tip anyone could have given me. One morning I got called to the Ronald McDonald House near the Children's Hospital here in my town. I was picking up a couple who needed to go about 90 miles home, almost to the state line. They had bought a car and they were going to pick it up to bring it to town. Early on in the ride, we got to talk about why they were there. They have a 2-month-old daughter, 2 months at the time, who had been born with her heart outside her body. And she was getting treatments and surgeries for that. So, I knew these were people who were at kind of a bad time in their life, probably pretty stressed out. Dark cloud hanging over them, it felt like. So I, of course, struck up conversation, tried to be friendly. And that friendliness happened in a way that was more than I expected. This couple they were from a rural area, struck me as not terribly educated. People as some folks might refer to as rednecks, but if they were rednecks, they were salt of the earth rednecks. These were the kind of people who I strongly feel if you showed up at their door hungry, they would not only invite you in and make you a sandwich, they'd probably give you their last beer to wash it down. Just super friendly. It struck me as very giving. Throughout the course of the conversation, again, it was a 90-mile ride, we talked about all sorts of things. And on many points, politics being one that I'll bring up. I generally don't like to talk politics with my passengers, but in this case, even though we discovered we had very differing viewpoints on a lot of things, we handled it in a way I think more people should. We had a civil discussion. We were respectful. We were friendly. And here's the important part. We listened to each other. We didn't just dismiss what the other person was saying because it didn't fall in line with the way we felt. We listened. And it was very productive. I'm never really getting into a discussion like that to try to change anyone's minds, but as we talked about politics and I explained some of my viewpoints, they sounded like they were really considering them strongly and possibly even rethinking a little bit of how they felt. That was a really interesting aspect to me. So, friendship was there. The kindness came in about 2/3 of the way into the ride. They had to stop at a gas station for a restroom break, and as they went in, they asked me if I wanted to grab me a Coke or something. And I said, well, no, I generally really only drink coffee and water, and I've got my coffee here in the car, so I'm good. But when they came out, they brought me a big bottle of water. I said, you might need this for the ride home. And I was like, yeah, I appreciated that very much. I thanked them very sincerely for that. And then they slipped me a $20 bill. The ride wasn't even over and they were tipping me, which was unexpected. It's rare I really get a tip before the ride ends. So then they did something I really didn't expect. They offered to take me out to lunch once I got them home. Now, I'm a little weird about that kind of thing. I think it's a little awkward and strange to go out to eat, to have a meal with your passenger, this person who, until, sometimes minutes before was a total stranger. My brain can't really do that. I'm like, no. I declined. I let them know I appreciated the offer, but I declined. Which, it wouldn't have worked out anyway. When we got to the little town just before their house, there was only one restaurant there and it was closed. So we had a few more miles, and this is where the ride kind of took a funny turn. We had a few more miles to go down a county road to get to their house, and the conversation got onto aviation, and specifically air travel. And the husband told me he had never been up on a commercial jet. He'd never been on an airliner. And I said, well, I've traveled all over the world, so I've been on a lot of really big planes. And he just started giggling, and he said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I've seen the movie Snakes on a Plane.
I have had it with these snakes on this plane.
And it strikes me, there's a lot of places on a plane that size where you can hide snakes. I would have fallen out laughing if I hadn't already been sitting down. So we just chuckled about all kinds of things to their house, and I dropped them off, and I just still remember them very fondly. They were just such a nice couple, and just giving and friendly. They were everything I could ask for in a passenger. Just absolutely wonderful. And it was also wonderful? People who subscribe. So click on the little button. Keep in touch with the new video releases. Send me your questions, send me your comments, and as always, thank you for watching.